Weekly Roundup. Roger Federer gave an update on his injury recovery before confirming his Laver Cup participation with Rafael Nadal, while Novak Djokovic promised to tell all about his Australian Open visa saga, and Andy Murray has made some last-minute changes. While the WTA Tour had no tournaments on last week, it was an eventful 7 days both on and off court on the ATP schedule. Alexander Zverev was one of the players in action after a disappointing Australian Open loss, but was overpowered by Alexander Bublik in the Montpellier final, while João Sousa and Albert Ramos Vinolas ended their title droughts in Brunei and Cordoba. Away from the match court, Novak Djokovic promised to share his full side of the story in 7 to 10 days after an 11-day saga in Australia, which saw him undergo 2 stints in a government detention hotel when his visa was cancelled twice, before eventually being deported on the eve of the Australian Open. And Roger Federer finally gave an update on his injury recovery process before he and Rafael Nadal were confirmed as the first 2 players for this year's Laver Cup. Unfortunately for another injured player, Juan Martín del Potro, it seems it could be the end as the former world number 3 prepares to return in Argentina this week, but admitted his comeback was more of a farewell tour. It was all happening for the Grand Slam champions last week, as Andy Murray also announced a coaching change and a last-minute decision on playing this week's Rotterdam Open, while also making a big claim about the upcoming clay court season. Federer and Nadal confirm Laver Cup doubles reunion. The first 2 players for this year's Laver Cup tournament were announced last week, with Federer and Nadal returning to represent Team Europe and hinting at another team-up on the doubles court. Federer co-created the Ryder Cup-style team event, which will be held in London this September for its 5th edition. Fresh off the back of a record 21st Grand Slam title, Nadal was announced for his 3rd Laver Cup, having last represented Team Europe in Geneva back in 2019, when he was forced to miss the final day of play with a hand injury. And the pair are hoping to team up on the doubles court once again, having previously joined forces at the inaugural 2017 Laver Cup in Prague, with their 2019 doubles hope shattered by Nadal's injury. Rafa's an incredible person and an inspiration to me and countless others around the world. He messaged me on social media after the Laver Cup in Boston last year suggesting we play doubles in London, and I am definitely up for a Laver Cup. I'll come back, Federer said, announcing his participation in London later this year. Nadal echoed his sentiment, adding, "I suggested to Roger we should play doubles together in London and he seems keen, so now we just need to persuade our captain Bjorn." Djokovic promises tell-all on Australian visa saga. Djokovic is set to break his silence over his 11-day ordeal in Australia in the next week. The world number 1 arrived in Melbourne for the Australian Open with a medical exemption granted by Tennis Australia, but had his visa cancelled twice, winning his first appeal on fairness grounds but losing the second in federal court, leaving him deported on the eve of the tournament. He spoke in front of the media for the first time since his deportation last Thursday, during a meeting with Serbia's president, Aleksandar Vučić, and promised to share his full side of the story in the next 7 to 10 days. "Those circumstances that happened to me in Australia taught me, and that bond will last forever," the 9-time Aussie Open champion said. "Since I did not speak before, please be patient. In the next 7 to 10 days I will address in more detail everything that happened in Australia." Murray makes last-minute tournament decisions and sets out clay season plans. It was all change for Murray this week, as he parted ways with Jan de Witt, the German coach he had been undergoing a trial period with in Australia. After a disappointing second-round exit from the Aussie Open, the former world number 1 decided not to renew his trial with the former coach of Gael Monfils and Gilles Simon. Murray will now have his former coach Danny Volvedieu working with him for the next few weeks, while he will also continue to work with his current charge Stan Wawrinka, who is preparing to return after an injury layoff. and the Brit will be back in action this week, having made a last-minute decision to take a wild card into the ATP 500 in Rotterdam. He also made a big statement over the weekend, ruling out the clay swing for 2022 after saying it made issues worse around injuries. Last year I had some issues at the beginning of the year, the clay didn't help, so I've spoken to my team about that, and this year while I feel good and healthy, I don't want to take that risk, he said, speaking ahead of his first-round clash against newly crowned Montpellier champion Alexander Bublik in Rotterdam. It's not that I wouldn't potentially play on clay in the future. Last year I almost missed Wimbledon, was close to not playing the grass season. I'm not planning on playing the clay. I will still try to compete a bit during that period.